Hello, this is going to be a short video. I just want to give you a quick demonstration on how to blend the correct way because I feel like I have seen so many people struggle with this, and I'm just having the realization that, okay, this is actually the constraint for a lot of people. So I'm going to just make a video on this. So you got two ways of blending color. So imagine you have these two flat colors. So here's what you're not going to do, first of all. What I've seen a lot of people doing to kind of blend, or what I can kind of imagine that they do or they try to do, is blending with the opacity of the brush. So when I say blending, I mostly mean like blending manually with the round brush and opacity, or any brush with opacity. So what I try to do is blend using the opacity of the brush, and try to blend like this. But you may notice that it doesn't look good. You might notice that it looks dirty. It overlaps with the brushes, so it looks extremely bad. And it doesn't really gives you this illusion of blending of gradients and stuff. It's just not going to work if we do it this way. So there are two ways. Let me show you. So we have two flat colors. One way to do it is by using a blending brush. So here in Photoshop, you have a blending tool, which is called a mixer brush tool. You have this in any art software, really. So it's like a smudge tool. And what this does is that if you go over it a few times like this, up and down, it will instantly create a smooth gradient right away, very quickly, very easy, like doesn't really take too much effort. And this is like using an airbrush kind of thing. Just like if you were using like an airbrush, like a very soft brush. But what you're doing is, again, just blending the flat color that you already have. So you're just blending it like this. Bam, you have your transition. And I love using this brush because of the fact that it's so quickly and it blends so good. So you have very like degrees of blending like this, whatever, brushes that do this. But you also need to know, like, I don't want you to only use this brush because be, that wouldn't look that great, honestly. Now it would make your art look very weird. It's like only blending with an airbrush, because there is a reason why you don't blend skin, or you don't paint skin with an airbrush, at least not all the time. Maybe if you're painting like a girl with makeup or something, but you don't really render with this brush because skin has actually, it has some texture, it has some edges. It's almost like clay. So what I do most of the time when I'm rendering anything really, and that will create like that texture that I want, is just doing it manually. So you can also do it manually. That is the second, or actually the first way of doing it. So it's like you manually create the transition yourself like this. You create the gradient. And I'm doing this by, I'm using the opacity, but I'm also color picking. I'm going to show you how to do this in a second. Bam, you got your gradient here manually. And again, you might notice that it looks very rough. If we compare it to this, if we compare it to this other blending tool, it is way more rough. It has a lot more texture. It has a lot more, like the visible kind of brush strokes here. And you may think right away, oh yeah, but the one on the right is better because it's softer. Not necessarily, because again, you don't want everything to be super soft all the time, only like in certain areas and certain moments. You want it to do it very, very mindfully. Now, how do you actually get this transition? How do you actually do this? Let me show you. Because this is the constraint for most people, and this is what you really got to learn to do. So I'm going to show you slowly the way that I do it. So you start with like a flat color. You always want to start with a flat color. And what you're going to do next is you're going to color pick into the flat color that you have. And using opacity, you're going to make a bit of a lighter value using opacity. And it's going to kind of overlap with the first flat color, with the flat color that you put on the canvas. And now you're gonna do the same thing over and over again. So you're gonna color pick into the new color, the new value, the brighter value, and you're gonna make a softer value here, a bit of a lighter value. You're gonna color pick into the lighter value, and you're gonna make a lighter value. You're gonna color pick, and so on until you get a very soft transition. Now you might say, "This is trash. This doesn't look soft at all. This doesn't look like blending. How do we make this smoother?" Well, we're gonna do it a lot. We're gonna do it over and over again. So we're just gonna keep color picking and going right in the middle of like the lines that we have here. You know what I also like is that because you have this rough texture, you can actually make it soft if you spend long enough blending it manually. But because you have this very rough texture of the brush, it looks very painterly, and I like it. It looks like the brush strokes, you know, like a brush, like an actual traditional painting sometimes. So I really like the way that it does it. And once you know how to do this, once you know how to blend in a controlled fashion, that's gonna change the way you paint, basically. Um, and now that you know how to do this, I want you to practice this with specifically with spheres. This is the most practical way in which you can actually practice this. So when you're painting a sphere, and the reason why I bring up spheres so much as a like an analogy is because it is so you will always be painting spheres whether you realize it or not. Oops. Because spheres, it's like your ability to paint spheres will correlate with your ability to paint, I don't know, faces or anything in 3D. It's just like a reflection of your skills, of your rendering skills. So you gotta get good at kind of painting spheres, not because of the sphere itself, not because of the, I don't know, the texture of the sphere, but because the way a sphere reflects light is the same way that a nose reflects light, for example. So it's like, um, if you're bad at painting noses, just get good at painting spheres and you will automatically get good at painting noses as well. So how do you get good at painting spheres? Following the same blending tips that I gave you. So what I do is like step by step. I'm gonna do it very slowly. I will color pick into the background. You will start with a flat color, and you want to start with the darkest value. So this is going to be the darkest value of the sphere because you always want to start like from dark to light and move up to the brightest highlights. So what I'm going to do is once I have my flat color with the dark value, I'm going to color pick into the background. I'm going to make like a soft brush stroke here just to kind of so I can color pick from it. So I have pure white right now here on my my brush, but I'm not gonna use pure white. I'm just gonna make like a very soft brush stroke here. But why am I doing this? Because then once I have this like very soft brush stroke, I can just color pick from it, and I can then erase it and just paint like this. So you want to do the exact same thing that we did with the blending when where we're blending the brush strokes there, the shapes. You want to start with hard shapes. You want to start with flat colors. And when I'm painting spheres, I like starting with at least 3 flat colors. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do that one more time. And here I have a sphere that has already a little bit more depth. Now, how do we blend this? How do we render it? Mind you, this is the exact same way that you render a nose or I don't know, like individual features of a face, for example. I'm just bringing up the face because it's like the most familiar thing. Now, we're gonna blend this the same way that we did. We're just gonna color pick into like the color. We're gonna make a little bit of a brighter stroke. We're gonna color pick into that brighter stroke, and we're gonna just do that over and over again, like this. This will work with any brush with opacity, really. you might be using a brush that doesn't have any opacity, and you really won't be able to do this because your brush needs to have opacity to achieve this. And this is why I like using the round brush. I always use this brush. Even though I still use the blending tool, like you can do the same thing with the blending tool as well. If you want to render a sphere, you can blend the flat colors with a blending tool. So it'll be something like this. You also have to, oh, very importantly also, you want to really follow the form of the sphere here. Even if you're using the soft brush, you want your brush strokes to really wrap around the sphere, or whatever the shape the object is that you're blending. You want it to really wrap around wrap around the sphere. Imagine it's going through. Imagine it's going like behind the sphere, and you're really feeling the form of the object when you're rendering it. So it's the same. Also the same thing here. Well, I can't really blend with this brush. So for some reason, this brush is kind of shit when you have very low contrast. But I have this brush, so I can blend with this. I can make the transitions with like this brush. Excuse me. You can see how it kind of works. It kind of blends. It leaves you with a bit of texture too, but you know, it is relevant that you learn to do it manually. It really, at this point, once you know how to do it, it really depends on what style you're trying to aim for, or what is the texture of the object that you're trying to paint. Because again, you can also use an airbrush. All right, fair enough. You can use an airbrush to make the transitions. But this isn't what skin looks like. Well, it has a bit of a texture here because of the brush, but you don't really want to have a super smooth transition when you're painting skin. You want to have some level of roughness and texture again. And that's how you do it. You do it manually. So learning how to blend like this is extremely important. So please practice that. And yeah, that's it for today's video. Goodbye.